Chelsea are hoping to complete a couple of big signings this week. Jamie Gittens of Dortmund, but the latest one and the new one is João Pedro, Brighton's forward, in a deal worth over 50 million. Once those deals do go through, it will mean that Chelsea, in the last 3 years, yes, 3 years, has spent over £1.5 billion. Over 250 million of it will have been spent at Brighton alone. So how did they get away with it? How can Chelsea spend such an incredible amount of money with PSR in place? It's quite simple. You sell your women's football team to your owner's company. You sell the hotel. You sell a couple of car parks to yourselves as well. And because of that, and all Chelsea are doing, they're playing by the rules. They're just very good at it. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to do it. And it allows them to spend just an insane amount of money in the transfer window. And the worst thing is, I'm not even sure that once Gittens and Pedro have been signed, I'm not even convinced they'll be finished. I think there might still be more signings this summer at Stamford Bridge. In regards to João Pedro, he had the option of Newcastle and Brighton. He didn't want to go to Newcastle. He only had eyes on Stamford Bridge. But it's not all bad news for the Geordies. At last, there's some good news for them in the transfer window. We'll discuss that in the second half of the video. But first, we're going to discuss Pedro. But if you're new to the Tartan YouTube channel, please do subscribe. A couple of milestones in the last week. Hit 4,000 subscribers. That was nice. Thank you to you, 4,000 people. But also got my first super chat. Thanks to Peter Shepherd. So Peter, a massive thank you. That perked me right up. It was on the Brentford. Could Brentford get relegated video? Went on the comments and there it was from Peter, super chat. So huge thank you. But please do subscribe if you're new around here. And also drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. Both things are free. Takes 2 seconds. Helps out the channel. Right, João Pedro to Chelsea. David Ornstein, the governor, put this one up last night as his exclusive. Pedro's left Brazil. He's on his way to America. He's probably in America already to get his medical done. Because if Chelsea sign him before the 3rd of July, it means he can play in the latter stages of the Club World Cup. And speaking of the Club World Cup, if Chelsea beat Palmeiras, the revenue they will have already earned at the Club World Cup will pay for João Pedro. That's how insane this Club World Cup is. Chelsea have already earned £40 million. And if they beat Palmeiras, it's another £15 million in prize money they will get paying for João Pedro. So that competition is making the rich get richer, but it's worth a substantial amount of money. And that's why when you see some Brazilian clubs linked to Premier League based players, normally you dismiss it. However, it's maybe worth just paying a little bit of attention because some of those Brazilian clubs have just had a humongous windfall this summer playing in that competition. So Chelsea are trying to get him signed up by 3rd of July so he can play in the knockout phase of that tournament. In regards to Pedro, I think he's a fantastic player. Individually, ability-wise, he's brilliant. I'm just not 100% sure where he fits in at Chelsea. Now, apparently, one of the reasons Chelsea are very keen on him is because he's versatile. He can play in various different positions. I think his best position is as a second striker / number 10. When he was at Brighton and he played behind Danny Welbeck, I think that's when they got the best out of Pedro. And I've seen suggestions he'll play on the left. He can play there. He did play there for Brighton when Matoma was out. But I don't think he was at his best. I don't think he was efficient as he was in the number 10 role. So I think they're getting a really good player. I'm just struggling to see where he fits in at Chelsea. I would imagine Maresca will play him out on that left more often than not, rotating him with Gittens and then keeping Neto over on the right-hand side and utilising Palmer in that number 10 role. However, I have noticed that the Club World Cup, he started moving Palmer out wide a little bit, which I think makes sense because that's a conversation I say we're going to have. We don't have to, but it's a conversation Chelsea need to have going forward because he hasn't scored. Palmer's been quite ineffective for the whole calendar year, the entirety of 2025. It wasn't great at the end of last season. They need to get him scoring again, and I do wonder moving him out of the middle because I feel like he was perhaps more effective on the right-hand side for Chelsea. Went into that number 10 role. I understand why. He's your best player. Build a team around him. But it's perhaps not quite worked. So maybe it would allow Palmer to go out to the right and it puts Pedro into the middle. But trying to guess what Maresca will do, I think he'll keep Palmer where he is and then utilise Pedro and Gittens out on that left-hand side. Needs to get better out of him. It's a chunky fee. I think over 50 million. Brighton have done well out of this one. And I think, like I said, ability-wise, there's no concerns. My concern is his attitude. It's not the best one. And this is why when he was linked to Newcastle, I found it a bit strange, because Eddie Howe's big on the character aspect of the player, and apparently they do a lot of due diligence into potential transfers, into their backgrounds before they bring them to Newcastle. And when you look at the success rate of the transfers at St James's Park, I would argue it's worked. And now I appreciate they obviously didn't dig deep enough into Tonali. I get that. But put that to one side in terms of the character of the player and how well he's been since he came back from his suspension. I don't think there's any doubts there. With Pedro, he's been petulant. Eventually he got sent off. But there was 2 or 3 other occasions during the season prior to that red card where he should have been sent off. That one against Brentford, however you pronounce the midfielder's name, Yarmouk. He swung his elbow at him. Fortunately for Pedro, Yarmouk had put the brakes on and stopped, so it didn't make contact. VAR looked at it and said, "Oh no, that's not a red card." What? The guy, he just tried to elbow him in the face. Like, how is that not violent conduct? Well, unless you make contact, you can swing fists at people. But regardless, he eventually got a red card for it. And then you hear about the altercation at Brighton, which has been confirmed by Hurstler, because Hurstler said it's been dealt with and it's case closed now. Well, while that's a good thing, as in it's been sorted, what it also means is it was true. The rumours that Van Hecken basically went for João Pedro or had a tussle with him and wasn't happy with Pedro's application in training or application to Brighton, Van Heck pulled him up on it and they had an argument / scuffle, whatever. And like I said, Hurstler confirmed that it had occurred. I think because of those, I think there's a few warning signs there. He's not the most prolific player in the world either. Depends how you want to look at it. 19 goals in 2 seasons is a very good return, but 9 of those were from the penalty spot. So 10 goals from open play in 2 seasons in the Premier League. It's not the best. So I think he needs to step up another level with his move to Stamford Bridge. And I think Chelsea are building a really good squad. I think they're maybe lacking a couple of more experienced players, and I see people say, "Oh, they spent all this money, they've not got any world-class players." I disagree. I think Caicedo is world-class. I think Palmer on his day can be. If Reece James wasn't made of glass, I think he would be as well. I think Enzo Fernandez has the potential to be one of the best in his position. But Chelsea aren't trying to buy world-class players. Pardon me. Chelsea are trying to create world-class players. They're trying to bring players in when they're 22, 23, so that when they're 25, 26, 27, they are now world-class. That's what they're trying to do. They're paying big fees, but the wage structure at Stamford Bridge won't be that ridiculous, because when they're bringing in players like João Pedro, he won't be on 200 grand a week. When Man United signed Cunha and they're trying to sign Mbeumo and you see the wages attached to those, that's big money because you're buying established players. What Chelsea are trying to do is bring in the likes of Liam Delap, and he'll be on a generous wage, but it won't be comparable to the wages of the players at the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool, Manchester United. I think they're building a good team. I just think they're 1 or 2 players experience-wise short. I think Pedro is a good signing, but they're not getting a bargain here. I think 50 million is a fair fee. Brighton certainly haven't been mugged off, but I certainly don't think Chelsea are running away thinking they've got them on the cheap. However, like I said, when you look at what they're earning in America right now, pays for the transfer. In regards to Newcastle, though, good news. Fabrizio Romano has said that James Trafford is set to complete his transfer to St James's Park. Good news at last for them. I think it's important Newcastle get a couple of signings in quickly. Their fan base is split from what I can tell. Half of them are chilled out and it's, well, we'll wait till the 1st of July, new PSR period, we'll sign players, we'll be all right. Then the other half are a bit concerned, which is why haven't we done any business yet? So to get Trafford in now would be good for them, but they need to keep going. They still need a centre-back, they still need a right winger, they still need a striker. And I think once you've got those 4, Anything else is a bit of a bonus. Try and upgrade that position of this player. You know, if Longstaff goes, get another midfielder in, better than Sean Longstaff. But I think James Trafford is an excellent signing for them. I still think he's unpolished is a bit harsh. I still think he's maybe not quite the finished article. I think he's got a little bit of developing to go, a little bit of growing to go, and he may start as a number one, but you might find he has a couple of iffy performances or iffy periods. But I think in a couple of years' time, I think Newcastle have potentially got England's number one. I don't think he'll be England's number one yet, but if I give it a couple of years, they might have. However, what is very interesting here, and I think it's gone under the radar, I don't think it's been discussed enough about the impact of Thomas Tuchel over transfers in the Premier League. Because we're hearing a lot of talk, and it's not just in regards to one player, it's in regards to quite a few players now. Tuchel thinks it's important his players are playing in the Champions League. So there's talk Grealish is going to leave Manchester City, but he's been told by Tuchel, make sure you go to a club playing in Champions League football. Well, next season, what is going to be happening is Trafford is going to be playing Champions League football and Pickford is not. And if Tuchel is adamant that to play for him, you've got to be playing Champions League football, let's just change that to European football. So we don't know if Dean Henderson's applicable or not until we've got the outcome of Palace's UEFA case. But it's a possibility that England's only goalkeeper playing Champions League football or European football could be James Trafford. And that could create an interesting sort of domino effect. And if Pickford or Henderson find themselves, sorry, you're not number one because he's playing Champions League football, it may start causing problems for some clubs. As a West Ham fan, I'm a little concerned about it in regards to Jared Bowen, that if he gets told the only way you're playing at the World Cup is if you move, that would worry me. I do think Bowen may still stick at West Ham, but what it means is for the next wave of players, like, say, Adam Wharton, for example, if the only chance he's got of getting an England squad is to be playing at a club playing European football, it makes it difficult for certain clubs. Trafford to Newcastle, I rate it good business. Pedro to Chelsea, it's all right, but it's hard to take it serious because of how much money Chelsea spend. They spend it like it's going out of fashion, like it doesn't matter. 50 million to Chelsea is a fiver to me and you. You'll spend it and not really think too much about it. So because of their attitude towards transfers, it's hard to really take them too serious to some extent. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but that's the reality. Whereas it's the complete opposite with Newcastle. They're so careful that they don't get ripped off. They're so careful with who they buy. You've got two clubs treating the transfer market completely different. Two big signings for two clubs with big ambitions next season. I rate both of them. But whilst I think Chelsea will keep spending, they don't really have to. Newcastle do. Newcastle have to keep spending. First signing done. Time to go get the next one.